See, what we got to do today is wait patiently for the clouds to pass. Because you will notice in a moment, I hope and I trust in the good sacrifice of the Lord, in our year of the Lord 2025, that the sun in a moment shall beam even more vividly over this cute little hedgehog. As we wait and see, as the director panaches his will, the only and lonely way to make awesome films is patience, Jedis. Patience in the craft of the arts. Patience. Oh, now the clouds have stopped. That's traditional, isn't it? They really have. They've stopped. They were going much faster before. That is so weird. They are literally motionless. And before they were moving. I've never seen anything like it. Oh wait, they're going the other way now. No, they're not. They really have stopped. Oh, what is going on? And look, is the sun there? Or there? Oh my God. I think I've just seen an alien. That can't have been the sun, it was moving too fast. Down scopes. The sun is meant to be there, I think, or at least that's what I thought. Left click. Now, what is weird is that up at the top, the clouds were moving before quite fast in the wind. But now, they haven't moved for a good while. Oh, can't get a shot. I need oil for my tripod, said the cameraman to the actress. Come on! What's going down? If there is a massive alien spaceship behind that cloud that I'm unaware of, there is going to be a few answers. We're going to have to wait this out, gentlemen, because this is really a phenomenon that I might be accidentally seeing, wanting to light Arnold the Hedgehog with correct lighting. But something definitely weird appears to be going on behind that cloud. I want to get whatever it is. Come on. Those clouds are still not bloody moving. You can tell me you can see it. They're not moving, are they? And yet before they were moving at quite a high rate. This is so bizarre. I'm putting back focus even more. It's a dangerous game you're playing, Lou. You don't know what's behind that cloud. There could be anything behind there. You just gotta be brave, man. You gotta take these chances. Now, I don't want to do in my lens by a long-term exposure to a heat source of that caliber. But this is peculiar because the clouds have still hardly moved. We've been waiting here how long? 5 whole minutes, when before they were chundering along at a good few yards a second. Oh, this is boring now. I think aliens always hide their knowledge, don't they? Unless they want you to see something and then you won't ever forget it, like what happened to me and I made a film about. But no one really believed it, and everyone thought I was crackers, but it was a totally true story. So we continue to wait here. Oh God, the audience will be getting tired now. Even if the director's bored, then the audience will be bored, believe me. But we're into the experiment now, we're into the theory. What am I going to do? Let you down by showing you something naff? You know, we don't know what's behind that cloud. The sun was not moving that fast. If they've stopped the cloud and they're just not going to move anything until I stop the camera, well, then we're doomed, aren't we? We're buggered. We're in a catch-22 situation. If I stop the camera, the clouds may start again. But if I don't stop the camera, they won't. And thus, the camera is somehow a power system of power, in colossal power to stop the clouds from moving. I can't believe this, can you? We wait in anticipation, growing impatience. Oh, this is boring. Where's the bloody... I never saw the sun move that fast. I've never seen the sun move that fast before. The bit where I freaked out earlier in the film. Right, so there's definitely something weird awry. But it might not have been the sun, that's the thing. Because we can't see what's behind that cloud. And that's a real shame, because I still haven't managed to light the poor little Arnold Hedgehog. Because I was intending to paint this dude. With the affording paints that it comes in with the packet. So they think about everything. It even comes with a little brush. No, they're just not happening, these clouds, aren't they? At least we've got it on video evidence that they've been static for like a good while, pretty much. There's been gaseous manoeuvres, but there's not really much to look at, is there, beyond, you know, up here. But, oh no, it's up here that really has stayed much the same, only possibly gone up a bit, but that's not the direction they were moving in. Okay, there's been a wind change perhaps, but it still doesn't explain this phenomena. I'm desperately confused. Oh well, I can't be asked anymore. They're clearly not coming back. We've clearly got you know, God doesn't want me to see. So let's just say, thank you, Lord. We didn't get quite the lighting on Arnold we wanted. But never mind. We can still salvage this project and hopefully turn it into what I intended it to be. Which isn't looking for aliens with Nu, but rather art with Nu. So bugger the aliens who don't want to be seen. If they don't want to be seen, that's not my fault. I've done what I can to capture the phenomena. But in light of this, I'm afraid I'm just going to have to crack on with Operation Plan A. Well, this is awesome. So here we are. Art with Nu Part 2, Didgeridoo and Electric Boogaloo. This is our target. We've got to colour Arnold Hedgehog with the cream body, the pink ears, which you have the same amount of pink on, and yet you've got all this body of cream, and it's brown fur. But then, because I'm radical, we're going to make it a bit more exciting, but you're going to have to be patient. And this is the size of our paintbrush, so you're going to have to be doubly patient. Let's do the flesh first, the flesh of the hedgehog. Right, lid a little tricky to get off, but never mind, we're going in. Now, some might like to keep their hedgehog flesh just Puritan white as the porcelain or whatever this stuff is. But I'm going to follow the directions of the intended game or toy or whatever this is called, implement for art, and colour it in according to how they like to control our minds in the enforced zone of quasi-fascist artistry, where we can only colour in the hedgehog according to the 3-colour ruling. But we will defy the oppression of civic hegemony once we have done as they insist. And I shall show you the freedom liberated in art. I wonder if his little doody nose is pink. I don't think it is. I think it's the same, his nose is the same colour. Oh look, it's a hole, you could put something in there. I think the nose as a whole is the same colour. Let's see the diagram. I know, his nose is brown, so I'll go over that at the end. But start with an undercurrent of a traditional creamy hedgehog colour, which they've granted us here in manifold plenty. And this was a gift for my daughter, this wasn't for me, for when she was a kid, but she never did it, she was a spoiled little git. She has so many cool toys, but she was an only child, and I think only children need extra love, because Mummy and Daddy couldn't afford to have a brother or a sister to team up, not to mention the fact Mummy and Daddy thought each other were complete tosses. But we love the daughter, because she's a superstar, and well, it's a long story of pain, woe, evil, and horror, but not on my part, they say, but although I was usually the cathexis of scapegoatery for things I never did, I never dreamed of. But those who did may well be dead now. Evil bastards. Right, so that didn't take as long as I feared, which just goes to show if you get on with shit, you get shit done. Now, possessing the wisdom of Solomon as I do, in modernity, the wisdom is just the same as Solomon's knowledge of insight into the value of God and reality under man, and God, who is not man-made, and never will be. And those who think God is a man-made illusion will crumble in the judgment day, according to the fates of damnation. Yes, these lessons with New, they're a bit more biblically difficult than most people would agree with, aren't they? Well, that's the problem when you've read the Bible studiously for years, including in the ancient Greek and in parts of the Latin, and you realise just one absolute nutter you become by taking all the word of the Lord totes seriously. As you probably should if you're a believer, which I am. But it doesn't get you many friends at parties, because they like to believe Marx, for instance, was a much better chap than God, which is total hokum. An absolute profound biblical human ignorance. But never mind, I'm not one to argue, because I generally do know better. And people who know better don't generally argue. Because arguing is a loss of control in a powerless scenario over an issue often, quite often, of irrelevant ignorance. And if you want peace, just be peace. There's no need for volatile aggression or physical brutality unless you're mentally deficient. Which some might say I am, because I am labelled with the condition of schizophrenia. And that is not a blind man's curse, it is a visionary man's curse. If you can call it a curse at all, which it most definitely could be. But with every curse, you could argue, comes a blessing in disguise. And that blessing, Geronimo, is that I don't have to work. Because I am hearing voices threatening me and my family and my loved ones, perpetually, it seems, for my ignorance as a youth. And my youth was 30 years ago. 30 years ago I was enlightened by God with a halo. And that's why I know the truth about halos and the crowns of light. And that's why I started reading the Bible, because I was illuminated by God before I'd ever read the Bible. I'd had a religious upbringing, but I didn't really take it very seriously, and I didn't read around the subject, which is very much the Bible. Then, after Holy Illumination in 1995, I did study the Bible quite deeply. And there's very little mention of hedgehogs, might I add. Because out in the Middle East in those days, hedgehogs probably weren't particularly very common, I imagine. And if they were, they just probably thought there was some awful little animal. And they might have even eaten them for survival. I doubt, for instance, when the Jews were surviving in the desert for 40 years, there were many hedgehogs. There was many quails. Quails are mentioned more in the Bible than hedgehogs. But do you think God is hedgehogist? Do you think he doesn't like hedgehogs because they're prickly and carry diseases? No, he made them as much as anything else. It's just that the Bible is not really about hedgehogs in England at that time. It's more about how God was helping the Jews and the believers in Jesus 2,000 years ago at the end, and much earlier on in other parts of the Old Testament. And this is the glory of Christ the Saviour to the believers. Now, we're going in for the full ding dong here, and what I'm going to do is check the time and the battery on the camera so it doesn't just cut out. Because I could say something amazingly profound and the camera will just shut down. And I want you to see all this in one fluid go. Now I don't think I'm going to get it all in one fluid go, but as much as, because that's the veritas of my art. Not the verisimilitude, the veritas. Because this is all real. This is all real. What you are seeing now is actual reality. It's not live because, I can't be asked to set up a live feed with my DSLR. I don't really even know how to do it, if I'm honest. But as we come to shading the hair in on this little cute hedgehog, it's getting to the exciting part now. A form of completion in art is always a goal we seek, but often elusive to the true artist. But they all have a cut-off point somewhere, otherwise we'd never see their creations, would we? Use your brains, young Padawans. Then you will escape all follies. See, look, I'm not sure if we've got enough brown. And if we don't have enough brown to cover the body, I'm thinking of making an official complaint, because there should definitely be enough paint on a frickin' hedgehog pottery toy thing to complete the work invested. And we haven't even done the nose yet, so I'm starting to panic. I'm starting to really worry about this art piece. Just check how much we got. I'm going to do the forehead as much as I can. Oh, bollocks! miss, strike across the ear. We'll have to redo the pink on the ear. We'll do that at the end. Now I'm doing this with a little slapdash and rushed, like a deranged madman in charge of a paintbrush. But you will see that it's all going to be worthwhile in the end. I hope. I hope, my friends. Oh no, we're really running out of paint here and we haven't finished the back of the hedgehog. That's a good swell. I've got a good swell vector there on the nose of the hedgehog. So that's good. That covered it well, quite effectively. Just got a little bit there. But then we've got all this to do, and we're running so low. Oh, Father of Jeremiah, be with us now. Be with us now while we paint this hedgehog on this day. Today is an Easter, the day of the risen Christ. It's Monday, bank holiday. It's only just occurred to me. The Pope died. No, it occurred to me when my father said it, but the Pope died on the day of the Christ's resurrection. Isn't that glory and... how do you say that? I don't even know. Gloriously symbolic into his true faith, Jesus Christ. Amen. What a day to go if you've devoted your life to Christ on the very day he ascended from the dead. There's almost something beautifully poetic about that. Something profoundly unique and religiously comforting. Especially if you didn't like the Pope or the Catholic Church, by the way. Which I don't really mind. I don't think they're a bevy of satanic paedophiles as the deranged tend to claim. Although there is far too much of that disgusting sin which Jesus talked about, and the punishment therein for such skullduggerers who indulge, such as kiddie fiddlers, liars, perverts, unbelievers, idolaters. God, don't get me started on idolaters. Liars, slanderers, the Babylonians. Okay, this is, it's looking a bit rough this side, isn't it? We're going to have to really peak him up a bit to make him quite a jazzy hedgehog. But you can see he's really coming together now as a final piece. And so I'm really quite happy with this as a first effort. That's much better, getting those contours just straightened up. Not chaotic with the natural lie of a tethering brush. If tethering is even the right word I'm looking for, which I'm not sure it is. A splayed brush, for want of a need. There's probably a more defined word for it. Not quite splayed, but not quite perfect brush. And who would expect it to be perfect after a throttling of this calibre? But we're nearly done on this first wave of creating Arnold Hedgehog. And my only worry is, when will the battery run on the camera? I mean, how long do we have is what I want to know. I don't know, because I didn't check, even though I said I would. I am not a man of my words, it seems. I'm going to have to do it, because I am a man of my words. Well, okay, well, we've got 4 minutes left, and we have achieved in 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes, 15 minutes it took me to basically finish this little dude on phase 1. Now, Arnold Hedgehog is looking pretty ace there. What we're going to do, very exciting process now. I have, yes, 4 minutes left, so a bit longer. We might as well not cut it off. We might as well use those 4 minutes to conclude the innate veritas of this project, and thus waiting for it to dry. I'm going to colour in his little eyes. Look at this, these are dual-ended pens with different nibs. Very cool in art. And they're felt tips, but very cool. Okay, that looks much better already. The defined eyes. Defined eyes of Arnold Hedgehog. He can look much better. What's that? What colour is it? Oh, his nose is pink. Let's give him a little pink nose. Reopening the pots. Very dangerous sometimes. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that is cool. He does, he's got a little pink nose, a little bit. Arnold Hedgehog is my wonder. Arnold Hedgehog is a dream. Okay. Now he's really starting to shape up. Now we want to turn him into something more exciting. So I am going to turn off the camera. Wait for him a while to dry. Because he needs to dry a bit more before we apply the felt tip. And then, ladies and gentlemen, things are going to get so exciting. I don't think you'll be able to handle it. Whoa. Right, so the actual base paint is done, which is really quite an achievement on my part. This is more than can be said for many heroin addicts. In 15 minutes I have achieved more than most heroin addicts achieve in months. And this is because partly I don't do that shit, because it makes morons and villains out of all those who do. But now I'm going to do something radically exciting. How's the dryness? We could expect it to be a little drier, but you know, we're up against it. We don't have all the time in the world. You know, time is a gift, and without wishing to squander that gift, we could sit back and show patience and diligence and Jedi wisdom for a while, for a time. But even in the films, if they did it too long, it would get boring. There's a fine line between boring and real Jedi wisdom, which is not boring. Star Wars is well exciting, as we know, unless it is a bit boring, and then that pisses us all off. But it's not generally too boring. Yeah, I'm still worried about the word. I know the exact word I'm looking for, but I can't find it at this point in time. But let's see if I can working out the word using my basic knowledge of etymology. The word I'm looking for is, it's still quite liquefied, shall we say, but that's still not the word I'm looking for. It's more in geology, when it comes to the knowledge of liquids passing through porous rocks and leaving a clammy residue. That is the word I'm looking for, but not one to be an expert geologist. And where are they when you need them? But I'm going to say, right, hold on, I'm going to say I've forgotten the word. Just admit your failures, Nick. Admit your failures and show your strengths. And this is what I'm doing. So the blacks are quite weak colour on this pen because it was a quite old used set and some of them may be dying. Now I want to really put some, I know, what don't hedgehogs like doing? Well, they let's put a CND sign on his back. That's a good idea. A big red CND sign. This is the best looking red we've got. I'm going to use the thick nib, which is dangerous on uneven surfaces like this hairy hedgehog, because it's got more room. See, my fears have taken place as I thought. It's going to be shit. Okay, it's shit, it's really, God, we might be able to salvage it. Because I wanted Arnold Hedgehog to be a little anarchic anyway. That's the point. The idea of an anarchic hedgehog is quite appealing. Because, you know, they're generally not known for their chaos, are they? They're nocturnal, peaceable creatures who generally only come out at night. So they're nocturnal, for those who don't know how to speak English, like I clearly don't in my forgetting of the word, which was a bit like gelatinous, but wasn't. Ophisticated or something, I can't remember. My memory is not what it once believed itself to be. Right. Okay, now I'm staying ahead with the plan. It's very hard to do straight lines or circles on desperately uneven surfaces. You will notice if you come to be an artist, because of the general physics of what you're trying to do. But we're fighting on. Yes, now my silence must be overtly tedious for me. But this is one of those groundbreaking shows where what we're going to achieve is fundamentally great. Now here I've learned something in my ignorance. The yellow is not gelling very well with the brown, which you'd really expect with a knowledge of science. I really should have left the base part free in its original white. Now I've got a pink finger from a smeared hedgehog nose, and that's the excuse I'm going to use for everything from now on. Sorry I'm late, Governor. I've got a smeared finger from a hedgehog nose. Never mind, we press on diligently. Now maybe I should have made all these spaces in between the CND symbol a different colour. That would be a good idea, but I can't be asked, so I'm not going to. Now there's that. Now I want some writing, but it's very hard to write on an uneven surface. So using the thin wedge, I'm going to write Arnold on him. Now I should write Arnold on the base. They might think Arnold made and painted it, of course. I'm going to put Arnold Hedgehog. In very appalling writing. Now, so as you can see, the anarchic Arnold Hedgehog is really starting to plume his bits with really exciting flair. Give him some claws, because you know, why not? This guy's radical. I'm exciting motherfucker. Oh sorry, that was the first swear word in this long expose of truth. The veritas performed diligently, my dear. So I'll edit that out if you want, because I'm not really one for vulgarities. And where does green go on a hedgehog? There really isn't much place for green on a hedgehog, is there? No, I think I'm coming to the end because I don't want to make them too anarchic. But I do want to give them a little earring on one side. A little cross of Jesus. Celebrate its continued Ascension Monday, if that's what we call it, which I can't remember, because I never paid much attention. But now, look at that. Look at that. Now I'll go in for closer, but I'm going to call that a day there. And if you've managed to put up with the entirety of this, well done you. For diligence, for patience, for devotion, for just sheer captivation of a boring subject. But is it boring? I mean, it's not wet ass pussy. I'll give you that, right? But this is the little hedgehog, and I think it's time to go in for a close-up on the finished article, which I shall then give to my daughter some rosemary summer's day. Thank you for tolerating my incessant balderdash. It's been a joy. One Arnold Hedgehog. So if we take a look at the full body, we see life, the Christian cross, his little face, laughs written on the top of his forehead, or there, with a CND sign, liberty on the back, love, laughs, life, liberty, all displayed on the little anarchic Arnold Hedgehog, who's not really an anarchist, but once he took part in the revolution and realised he needed an excellent pension plan for a long-term welfare scheme. But initially he was excitable into life and thought he was powerful politically purely because he was a hedgehog. And that meant life in the hedgehog world. But he was more than that. His destiny lay for further value. And he realised he'd get nowhere by creating chaos. So he didn't.